Hey Bookie, welcome back to my channel, girl. I'm so glad to see you again, Bookie. But if you're new here, my name is Dominique Session. This is Mommy in a Courtroom. On this channel, we talk about crime, daily news, and of course, we got to be a little bit of messy together. It wouldn't be right if we didn't. So make sure that y'all like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Also, go and turn those post notifications on so you can get notified when I post. Let's jump into the video today. Okay, so we are on part 2 of what happened to Naziah Harris. If you haven't watched part 1, make sure to go back and watch part 1. Now, part 2 is going to be a little lengthy. So if you are driving, if you are taking your kids a bath, if you are at work, if you are just cooking in the kitchen, sit me down somewhere. You ain't got to watch the screen. Sit me down and just listen to me like a podcast. Because it's real tea. It's real. I give real tea. I do give commentary on this page. So if you don't like my commentary, baby, hit the door. Okay, swipe away. I don't give a damn because I'm going to say what I got to say. This is my channel. If you don't like what I got to say, it ain't nothing but to sit your phone up and record your own. Okay, so let's jump into part 2. Okay, so I did throw out a few names in part 1. We got Net, which is the grandma. We got Shannon, which is Naziah's aunt. We got Marquita, which is another aunt of Naziah's. We got Lady, which is her mother. We have Jarvis, which is the pet fowl, which is Shannon, baby daddy. Okay, so we're gonna jump into a few testimonies today so I can tie everything together for you because I know it's a little confusing. So we're gonna start off with Jarvis and King. If you don't know King is Cordell Wright. He is a business partner of Jarvis's. Jarvis was a mechanic. So-called a good mechanic. We're going to fast forward just a little bit to the preliminary, and we're going to go back to January 9th when she went missing. So make sure that you keep up, okay? So, Cordell Wright, which is Jarvis's business partner, he seen Naziah on January 9th, 2024. Per his testimony, he stated that his baby mama's mama had called him and told him that she needed her car fixed. She had a Jag. She was going to get the Jag towed up to the shop. They had a shop named Frank's Auto Mechanic. She's going to get the car towed up there to him. He said, cool. She ends up getting the car towed up to him. Him and Jarvis, King and Jarvis, which is the business partner, they start working on the car together. In that period of time, Jarvis has a sister named Tijuana. She also testified in the preliminary hearing. She was the one that had on the yellow and she was crying really hard. She's actually the one that reported it. She was one of the first people that reported it, that she had seen Naziah on that day. So in that time frame that Jarvis and King is working on the baby mama's Jag, Jarvis's sister Tijuana pulls up. In that time frame, we're going to go back just a little bit. Whenever Jarvis and King was working on the car, they noticed that they needed some more parts or something to the car. So they go to AutoZone. Now, per calculations, AutoZone is not, it's kind of out the way. Yeah, we just going to say that. The AutoZone that they went to was kind of out the way. Now, on their way back from the AutoZone, Jarvis sees Naziah walking. She had got off the bus. And I'm assuming she was walking to his shop because it only makes sense. So Naziah was walking. Jarvis stops and just pulls over and picks up Naziah. He said, oh, that's my niece, and stopped and pulled over and picked her up. This is King's testimony. King also stated that when Naziah got in the car, she said, hey, King, hey, Jarvis, and then was in the backseat on her phone, really not paying attention. So they also go to the liquor store after they picked up Naziah, they also go to the liquor store, get whatever they get at the liquor store, and then go back to the mechanic shop. When they get back to the mechanic shop, Jarvis' sister, Tijuana, that's when she pulls up and she sees Naziah there. Now, Jarvis' sister, we gonna kind of jump to her we're gonna do both of the testimonies together because the story's not gonna make sense unless I add both of their testimonies in through the storyline. So once they get back to the shop, like I said, Tijuana, which is Jarvis' sister, She also goes to the mechanic shop because she said that Jarvis was going to work on her car. So she said that she was waiting outside because the shop is a really small really small shop, sorry. And she said that while she was waiting, she had to go to the bathroom. So it's like the way that the mechanic shop is set up, there's like a mechanic shop and then there's a convenience store attached to the mechanic shop. So she said that while she was waiting in the car before she went to the bathroom, she kept seeing this little girl jump in and out of Jarvis's truck. So Jarvis had a Escalade at the time. She said, I kept seeing this little girl jump out of Jarvis's truck, running back and forth to the mechanic shop that was connected to the body shop. So she said, I never seen her face, but Neziah had on a specific jacket. She had on like a Nickelodeon jacket that had all like the 90s cartoons on there. So she was like, I never seen her face, but I did see her jacket. So we're going to go back to King's testimony. King said that after him and Jarvis got done working on, I guess after the sister left, this is after Tijuana left the shop. She went to the bathroom, got her car worked on, and then she left. So once she left, King and Jarvis finished working on the baby mama's Jag. And so they had asked him during the preliminary hearing, which is Cordell, which is King. They asked him, well, did she get the car towed back to her house, or how did she end up getting her car back? He said, no, me and Jarvis drove her car back to Ikalipsi. Ikalipsi is like a 40-minute drive from the shop. Now, King was on a tether, which is like house arrest, basically. So by the time they drove back, it was going to be time for him to get back to the crib, basically. So him and Jarvis decides to drive the car back to Ikalipsi for her because he said that he didn't want her to spend any more money having to get the car towed back to her house, basically. So him and Jarvis decided to drive the car back to Ikalipsi. So it was King in the car, Jarvis in the car, and Neziah in the back seat. So as they're driving, he says, wasn't nothing to it. We got the car there. When they get there, King's baby mama is there. Hold on. I missed the part. So before, we're going to go back to Jarvis' sister, Tijuana. So before Tijuana had left the shop, she had asked Jarvis who Neziah was, but she didn't name her by name. She just said, who is that little girl? And Jarvis said, oh, that's King's niece. Remember that. So whenever they drive the car to Ikalipsi, King's baby mama's mama, his kid's grandma, basically, had asked King who Neziah was. And King said, oh, that's Jarvis's niece. So that's already the mix up right there. Okay. They get the car back to Ikalipsi. They drive back to the shop. King said that once he got back to the shop, he went to the back and started counting the receipts in the till for the day. Now, King claims he has never seen Neziah ever before. This was the first time he didn't ever seen her really by herself. He said that anytime that Neziah comes up to the shop, she is with Jarvis's other daughter, which is Janiyah. This is my thing. I don't feel like that Neziah was ever at that shop. This ain't Neziah's first time being at the shop by herself. I feel like that King was doing a lot of covering up for Jarvis, because also there was a phone call that was played during the preliminary hearing that Jarvis was asking King to get one of his phones out of his truck. He said it was in Jarvis had a lot of females. We're going to start there. Jarvis had a lot of females. So one of the girls that he was engaged to, he had left his phone in her car in the back seat. And so Jarvis had told King to call her up there, act like you got to fix on something and get my phone at the back seat of her car. Jarvis didn't know that the police had already basically seized her car. Now, this is where it gets kind of tricky yet because we're not in trial yet. This is still the preliminary hearing, so there's still a lot of missing pieces to the story. I personally feel like that King got Jarvis's phone out of that car. But he's claiming that he didn't get the phone out the car. They asked him, were you able to retrieve the phone? He said no. I feel like that he was lying. I think he got that phone. Now, my thing about King is that King know way more than what he is incenting that he knows. That's my thing with Cordell. Because on this page, Cordell ain't no king. He ain't no king. The way he moved, there wasn't no king. So when everything glued in together, Jarvis's sister, which is Tijuana, called King because something happened. So this is just the preliminary hearing. We don't have a lot of detail. But once trial start on March the 7th, trial really not going to really start till like the summer. That's my prediction. March the 7th, they're going to start giving out trial dates and motions and all that stuff when paperwork have to be filed and things like that. So when trial actually starts, we'll be able to get more detail. But while Jarvis' sister Tijuana was testifying, she also stated that something had happened on February 14th, which is Valentine's Day. It was a podcast that she had watched. And I'm assuming that it was 7 Miles podcast because he was like a Detroit advocate for that period of time when Neziah first went missing. Sorry, y'all, my light had died. I was over here in the dock. But anyways, something happened on February 14th that hasn't came out in trial. Like I said, I feel like it was the 7 Mile podcast that the sister had watched. But the sister had ended up calling Shannon, which... No. I'm overtracking myself. The sister ended up calling King and asking King who that little girl was that was at that shop because they had, like I said, the grandma had went on the news. She didn't want to go on the news, but she ended up going on the news and making it wide that her granddaughter was missing. They made a description of her and they showed a picture of what she had on the last day that they had seen her, and she had on that Nickelodeon jacket. So Tijuana had called King and was like, hey, I was watching the news and I seen that little girl that was on the news. I seen her at Jarvis's shop on the 9th. Who is that little girl? And King said, oh, that's Jarvis's niece. Oh, that's Jarvis's niece. Tijuana said, that ain't Jarvis' niece. I know Jarvis got a lot of kids. Jarvis had 20 kids, y'all. She said, I know Jarvis had a lot of kids, but I ain't never seen that little girl before. She don't fit the description. And looking at Jarvis's kids, they all do look alike. Like they all favor each other. She said, she called Shannon. Tijuana ended up calling Shannon. She said, Shannon, what's the detective name that came over to your house the other day? Yeah, I'm gonna need you to send me his number because I seen that little girl on the news and I seen that girl at Jarvis's shop when she went missing. So Shannon ends up giving Tijuana the number to the detective. So we're gonna go back and I'm gonna go back so y'all can know how Shannon ended up getting the number to the detective. I'm pretty sure you can kind of tie it all together because at that point they had labeled her as a runaway. But it was been so long, they ended up labeling her as a missing person. So it's the difference between a runaway and a missing person. So Tijuana calls the detective. Y'all. And she told the detective, I seen that little girl. She said, I never seen her face, but I seen that jacket. Tijuana may not never seen her face, but she knew her brother. She knew her brother was a pig. She knew her brother had a little thing for little girls. She been knew her brother had a little thing for little girls. That's why she asked him, who is that little girl? Because I kept seeing her jumping in and out of Jarvis's truck. Talking about this King's niece. Baby, no. She said, I know my little brother. My brother's a little pig. And he like little girls. Jarvis' record wasn't just clean. Jarvis had just got out the pen for doing basically the same thing to a 4-year-old. He ended up giving a 4-year-old chlamydia. It was his girlfriend's daughter. It wasn't even his biological daughter. It was his girlfriend's daughter. Chlamydia. Y'all. So this is just part 2. Make sure that y'all like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I know I'm a good storyteller. I be getting a little mixed up because this is my first time just really recording myself. Like, I can talk about a case, but it's like, it's different when you recording yourself and talking about it. So I did kind of stumble a little bit, but it's getting better. It's only going to get better and better and better. So make sure that y'all like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Also, don't forget to turn those post notifications on. I'll see y'all next week. Bye.